It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to talk about Purple Yam's recommended topping guide. A lot of people run Yam a little bit differently, and in a lot of situations you will have to run him differently. So that's why I think it's good that we cover all, at least what I would say, 3 best topping setups would be right now for Yam, just based on his skill and his magic candy. So his base skill is single hit damage of 99.8%. But you have to remember that he is hitting in a tornado multiple times. So he's hitting more than just once. If we look at his base attack with 0 toppings on, it is 40,000. So with that in mind, we can take the searing toppings like we've done over here, and we can pump that up to a healthy almost 60,000, depending on how well your stats are. Now do keep in mind with Purple Yam that the other base stats that are very strong are his defense and his health. So that's why in a lot of situations you can work with him without having as much damage resistance. Now, you can only do that if you have a level 20 plus magic candy. And that is because you get the Berserker's Fury, which gives an attack boost of 23.5%, the crit boost of 20%, and a damage resistance of 9.4%. So, that 9.4% damage resistance stacks up to 4 times. So, between your substats, those stacks, and whatever else team you're running, you may well be over 40 to 50% damage resistance during that state. Once you get to the Berserker Spirit, here's the interesting part. It restores 15% of your max HP every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. So mathematically, that's going to be 30% every second, so 90% after 3 full seconds. So 3 seconds and 90% of his HP is restored. So that's going to lead into the second topping set. So the first topping set, I would say, is the Syrian attack. You can try to run critical jellies. The thing is, with the criticals, you need to make sure that you have extremely high critical percentages and that you have substats of either attack speed or attack in the back end. Just because with the criticals, you can be hitting criticals, yes, and that is very possible, but you want to make sure that you are hitting them as fast as possible so that you have the most damage output. Because of the attack boost that the magic candy gives, the attack toppings work pretty well on Purple Yam for that reason, because you can just keep pumping it higher and higher and higher. Where with the critical toppings, you're pumping a high attack with high crits, but at the same time you're waiting for the magic candy to activate. So it's a hard line between which is actually doing more, and I'll test that more for sure. But in most instances, the Syrians seem to be running really good for just Purple Yam specifically. Topping set number 2 is going to be the peanut toppings. So at base value, level 70 with all the upgrades that I at least currently have, so yours may vary differently from what you see, we have 302,000 HP on Purple Yam. If we were to put that at about 65% HP for the substats, you can get, I believe, up to 69%, we would be well over 500,000 HP. And if you remember, with the Berserker's Spirit, we're able to heal 90% of that through that condition. So as long as you have enough damage resistance, because you can have 30% substats of damage resistance on Purple Yam peanut toppings, as long as you have enough for that, then you can make him survive long enough to where he can heal all that HP back. And the further this game progresses, the further the HP toppings will actually end up mattering, because of how these skills have a max cap of 300,000 of relative damage. So that's going to matter in time. Maybe not so much as now, but if you think about it, if you put Purple Yam and Hollyberry in the front of your team, and you run peanut toppings on both with good HP and DR, and you run the Flamingo Tube, you have cookies that are sitting over 700,000 HP. Absolutely bonkers. Now the third set, though, is going to be the traditional almonds, though. And the reason is if you put a full damage resistance build on Purple Yam, the combination of the high HP, the high natural defense, as you can see we have 105,000 here, and high damage resistance, you're going to be in a spot where you don't get hurt too often. So that means Purple Yam just gets to keep hitting the enemy time and time and time and time again. And you're not relying on healers as much. So it's situational to how to build them. If you want him in the front and you want him to be shredding down the enemy team, and you know that you've got enough healing in the back, you've got enough defense, you're not too worried about the positions of cookies, run the attack toppings. They'll do great. If you have great healers or you have great support units that are keeping Yam alive, pumping Yam up in various ways, run some peanut toppings, because then you can actually have this like gargantuan HP monster running at the enemy. And if you don't have a lot of healers, maybe you're trying to run more DPS builds, then instead you should be trying to run the Almond setup, because then with the Almonds you can go ahead and make sure that Yam is protected enough to do what he needs to do, while also helping protect the DPS units behind as he takes the frontal damage. So those are my 3 recommendation sets on Purple Yam, and hopefully you can build some good substats with toppings on him. If we do ever get a change to large and X-large toppings, there are a couple other topping potentials that could jump in that would do really well, but only at those levels, and that would be the candy for the Amplify buff, just because if we got a huge Amplify buff level, then it would be able to far surpass many other things in most instances. So that's something I'm on the radar of if we do ever get those to release. And then the other one would be the attack speed toppings. Attack speed does really good for the cookies that don't mind being in the fray of battle. Teleportation cookies, cookies that aren't able to avoid attacks, or need to avoid attacks, I should say, they don't do well with attack speed. That actually hinders their capabilities. Purple Yam, not so much. Purple Yam, just, you can pump them with DR, attack speed, attack, criticals. That's all going to be helpful in a lot of ways. So hopefully this is a helpful video to you guys. Yam's been used a lot in Alliance mode recently. I've still been seeing Yam in the arena quite often. So I don't think Yam's going anywhere anytime soon. As you can see, I'm trying to get to the level 30 candy, because that's going to increase the damage resistance even further, making him even more of a Titan and less needs of the Almond setups overall. But nonetheless, those are the 3 topping builds that I think are probably the most suited for Yam to run optimally and strong. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know in the comments and the feedback if you have any suggestions or different topping setups that you specifically run, as I'd love to hear, and I want the community to see what you think too. Thank you and have a wonderful day.